Rag, my hair has overgrown and it's looking shabba dabba doo doo. So excuse that. But I hope everybody's well. Hi Facebook, hi. I hope everybody's well. I'm just about well in quarantine. I don't know what the outside looks like any. Well, I know what it looks like. I don't know what it feels like anymore. But hey, hi. So I don't know where to start with this, but I probably will. Hi. Hey. I will probably start with who I am. So, my name is Tristan Fynn. I am a writer. I am a director. Um, I created a piece last year that has been in development for quite some time. Was it last year? Yeah, it was. I created it the year before last year, and then I toured it last year, called Sweet Like Chocolate Boy. Which I wrote and directed. And I'll go into how I ended up directing that in a second because it wasn't necessarily an easy decision to write and direct your own work. Uh, I'm going to start with saying if you're going to do that, you need to be really, really sure that you know exactly what it looks like and you know exactly what you want. And even when you do that, you need to make sure you have other eyes in the room or you trust the other crew members in your room to give you ideas and thoughts too. Um, and take yourself out of being in the writer space. Um, but more on that in a second. But other than that, yes, that is me. I also last year directed a play called Little Baby Jesus, which was by Arinze Kene, which did okay. It did all than okay, but I don't want to brag today. But yeah, that's me really. So, has anybody got any initial questions before I just start riffing off? Um, yeah. No questions. So I'ma just start ripping off. Okay, so in terms of the development of Sweet Like Chocolate Boy, it has been uh it has been in the cooking pot since like let's say 2014, 2014, 2015. Um I was at Roehampton University and I had a C commission for another theatre to do some to write for another theatre because I just finished staging another play I did ages ago called Skeen, and I just had nothing to write. Like I was writing, but the thing that I was trying to write for the C commission, I just was not in the right headspace to write it. I also now realize I don't think I was old enough to write it and went enough through enough experiences to write it the way I wanted to. So um I just started writing some other monologue based off of my favorite song in the whole world, "Sweet Like Chocolate" by Shanks and Bigfoot. If any of you garage fans know, you know that that's a tune. Um, and there was a festival at Roehampton University called the Soap Festival. And so as I was writing this thing, I thought, let me just submit something. I haven't felt like I've acted in such a long time. And I'd also just finished watching Chewing Gum Dreams by Michaela Cole, which is I swear one of the best monologues I've seen in a very long time. And I love Michaela Cole for everything that she does. I just love her. And she was unafraid of including her love of music in there, and all of her love of music was so apparent in that monologue. In that monologue that was a play in itself. And I said, I want to do that. I want to create a one person piece that has all the music influences I love, and I loved garage. I'm not gonna say I'm a garage head in the sense that I know what every single garage tune is called and know who did it, but I know it when I dance to it. I just know garage when I dance to it. It's just yeah. So I created a piece. Originally, it was called "The Gospel According to Devonte," and I played a character called Devonte. And It was really well done. It was really well received. Even though some people were sleeping in the audience, I remember that very well. It broke my heart, but it was all right. Um, and I took away from that there's something really powerful about this that was past the music now, but it was because of the music and past the music. So like just the want for this black boy to be seen as not just a hero but worthy of especially this particular girl that he was going to see. Um and I felt like that is a piece that needed to be expanded in some way. And there was more to it because also I felt like I was portraying someone that I wasn't, but I knew very well, but I wasn't portraying the side that was a little bit more like me. So I wrote a second part to it. So obviously, if you've watched the play, you've got Mars's timeline, which was originally Devontae back in the day, and um, and his journey through the estate to meet the girl he loves for a riot. But on the other side of things, there was the '90s storyline, which I felt like, and that came about actually. The reason why I chose that particular timeline was because someone said to me, Tristan, you should write a period piece, and I said no. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. But then I thought, you know what? Let me expand myself a little bit. And people had said that no, they had seen that kind of story before about just a guy from Ends, and I wanted to see someone different from Ends. And I was like, well, let me just do something that's a little bit slightly like, well, me. So that's where Bounty storyline came from. Where I live in South London, when people hear me speak and I say, "Oh, I've lived in South London all my life," and not only that, I've lived in an estate all my life. I lived in the same flat all my life, and the estate that I live in is was notorious back in the day for all sorts of drugs, murders, stuff like that. People are like, "Really? You're a liar," and that really annoyed me because I was like, the people like me exist too, in these boroughs, in these estates. We all people like me exist as well, and I'm not ashamed of that. Um, so that's where Bounty storyline came in, which was like, I feel like to be black is to be a certain thing, especially to be politically and outwardly angry, and then that's when you're truly black. Or seen as a good man or whatever. Um, and I felt like I wasn't that. It doesn't mean I wasn't politically or Bounty wasn't politically charged or thought about the things that was happening around him in the '90s in particular, because I do believe the '90s is a period that all of a sudden now we're beginning to look into, but before then, I think we were like everything is the '80s. Everything is the '80s, the '70s, the '60s. Nobody looks at the '90s as a culturally revolutionary time, which I really believe it was in terms of style, in terms of music, in terms of political ideology, in terms of the fact we had a Labour government like and the other half of it, like just a lot of things during that time. And I just wanted to portray that in a very different voice. So then I ended up meshing the two together. I was very inspired by Little Baby Jesus by Rinze Kene, which I believe all of you should read, along with Chewing Gum Dreams by Michaela Cole, which I believe all of you lot should read. Um, and I wanted to see if there was a way that the two stories can sort of intertwine. Um, and as time went on, it really started to go like this, and I realized that there really was a deep connection between the characters. Um, and so, in terms of how it got developed, I did that. I did really well at Soap Festival at Roehampton University when I premiered it. And then I applied for the short story Big Cities commissions at the Rich Mix in Shoreditch, where I worked with Lynette Linton at the time. Um, to direct me in it with another DJ, which went really well. But then after that, I realized because I did both parts, and after that, I realized I don't think I can do this. This it obliterated me doing two parts at the same time, uh and then millions of characters in between. No. I said, I don't think I can do this again. So I decided if I'm gonna do this again, I think I need another actor to do it with me. So I would play Mars, and the other actor would play Bounty, and then we would have so who are the two main narrators, by the way, and then we would have each other bouncing off each other, playing all the different in between characters. So I did a few scratches at the Lyric Hammersmith. I did a small scratch of it at the Kiln, which was the tricycle at the time. Where else did I do it? I did it in a whole heap of places. I once did a little bit of it in a barber shop as well, actually. And as time went on, I began to have more and more of a control in how it was being seen and how it was being created. And of course, I wrote it, so yeah, obviously, but no, it was more like no, I have to direct it in a certain way for you to understand the feeling and the juice um, that made it exciting in my head for me, um, and usually makes it exciting for other people to see it. So I did a big scratch. I rented out the what's that place called? The Cockpit in Marylebone. Amazing space. It's a beautiful space. It's a really lovely, lovely, lovely space. And I said, I'm doing this thing again. I got a producer. My producer ghosted me. I shouldn't be spilling tea like that, but it's the truth. I had a producer before, and my first producer, she was with me. She was doing all the things, and then all of a sudden, she disappeared off the face of the earth. These things can happen. Um, And then I got one of my friends who I was working with at the time anyway, who was just coming up in wanting to be a producer. And I said to him, would you like to give my show a go? Because I ain't got nobody now. And he was like, yeah. And that person ended up being Emmanuel Nwosu, who is a bad boy producer in theatre and will be killing the scene quite soon. So we worked together. We got another actor involved, Tej Obano. I had assistant director Anne Moliners, and I worked with Jana at the time as well. Jana in terms of music and sound, and we created a scratch piece for a day at Cockpit to like 150 people. I enjoyed every moment of it, but once again, I died. I was like, I don't know if I could do this again. Um, and so I pushed it to go into the Jack Studio, which had a smaller space. I felt like we need a smaller space because we can reach 100 people now. So we need a smaller space. I said, let's do it for 3 weeks with Emmanuel so that we can get a proper, fully. Hi, Noemi. Hi. So that we can get a proper, fully 3 week professional run because in this industry, um, more than 2 weeks or more usually is seen as a professional run from what I've heard and what I've seen. So I push for if we can get the 3 week option, let's get the 3 weeks so we can show that we can withstand a 3 week run in a space that doesn't require too many audience members. Even though it was like our first run producing a show of this size for that long. So we did at the Jack Studio, which is so if anybody knows about the Jack Studio, that is a beautiful space. And yes, it's not a producing theatre in terms of they won't produce your work, but the kind of help that they give you if you want to put your own work on, I love it. I love that space. Kate and Carl who run that space, I adore them. The actual rehearsal space is a really lovely space. Um, the what's it dramaturgical work that they give you is really lovely too. And I said, yeah, all right, let's do it in this space. So we did it for 3 weeks. I managed to get Arts Council funding for it. At first, I didn't. And in the middle of doing it, I said, let me try again. And I got it just before like proper rehearsals were meant to start, I believe. And then we did it. We got amazing reviews for it. And then at that time, I was like, well, this can't end. So me and Emmanuel were working towards getting it on a tour. So we ended up touring it to what's that place? Battersea Arts Centre. We ended up touring it to Tobacco Theatre Factory, and because a lot of those people had come to see the work. Please invite people to come and see your work if you want to work in their theatres, and also go and see their work if you can, so you know what their space is like. Uh, but yeah, so that's what happened with that. We ended up going to Theatre Peckham as well, and yeah, it was a life changing experience. It was also a baptism by fire. I'm not gonna lie, in terms of learning to direct, tour work, um, co-produce. Um, but in the end, when I think about it now, it was incredible experience for me. So on the actual play itself, Sweet Like Chocolate Boy is a piece about it's a storytelling piece, by the way, and I always categorize it as that because it's a lot of speaking to an audience and truly interacting with the audience and inviting them into the story. And it is a piece that looks at present day Britain, what at the time was like 2010s, and 90s Britain, and seeing what has changed, what has stayed the same in the lives and the minds of these two black boys. There is also a very huge supernatural element because I'm a believer of God and I believe in every piece of work that I'm going to end up doing. Um, God is going to maybe not necessarily appear as a person, but there is in the worlds that I create, God exists without a doubt for me. Um, and so there was a real. We had God played by a black woman who was who was a DJ of life. Um, God is a DJ. Um, and they were hurtling through time, asking and observing who they were in that time. Well, sorry, Bounty. Was hurtling through time as I don't want to spoil it for you, so I'm not going to spoil it for you. But he's hurtling through time in order to reconnect with who he was to save Mars. Mars being of the present time, who is on his way to meet the girl of his dreams, Fantasia, who is um, a revolutionary, um, and is angered by the injustices of this world, this systematic oppression that we live in. And she lived in, especially as a black woman. And so, hi, Pearson. Is it Pearson? Hi, Pearson. So, that was his driving force, but then also Mars was dealing with his own mental health issues. I never made it very explicit what it was because I felt like I didn't want to pathologize it too much to make it very clear that, oh, it's just this, so just deal with this and then it's all right. There's a whole myriad of things um, that contribute to mental health and ill mental health, especially in black boys. The repression, the want, the need to connect with masculinity, sometimes like absent parental figures. I'm not always going to say father figures because I don't think it's just, oh, my dad's not there, but it's just sometimes it's an absence of role models, an absence or a punishment rather when it comes to critical thinking of things, um, consistent uh, images and information fed to you that life is via money and material things. And sorry, I'm riffing, but like material things and all, like there's a whole lot that contributes to a black boy's mental health. um and I very specifically called it Sweet Like Chocolate Boy because I felt like I could only truly, for me at the time, talk from a boy's experience. But I wasn't going to ignore the female experience. But I felt like for this particular story anyway, I don't think I can delve into it as deeply as I would like, and I don't know enough, and I've not asked enough. And I would love if someone in the future was to able to make Sweet Like Chocolate Boy or Sweet Like Chocolate Girl. That's what I want to say. Sweet Like Chocolate Girl. Anybody's out there, please go for it. Um, by the way, guys, please ask questions. Like, please, because I'm just gonna riff, and I don't know what else to say. But please do ask questions. Um, I should talk about what I've learned in writing it. Actually, um, I've learned in terms of poetry, in particular, because I'm a lover of poetry. Oh, sorry, I'm a lover of poetry. Um, and be very careful when you're or rather be very specific when you're using poetry. I believe now for me there's two types of like poetical uses in terms of theater. You can either have a world that was made by poetry, so everybody speaks in poetry, like in a Shakespeare, it is all poetic, and so that is the main language system of that world. Or on the flip side, you can have poetic moments, but in those poetic moments almost act like moments in a musical when it is to heighten or it is to propel a story forward, or it is to heighten an emotion, or it is to explain something that mere ordinary conversation or human conversation cannot. Because I believe poetry, like the music, whatever, is an invocation of the spiritual, and so whatever that became poetic is because it spiritually had to come out at this time and it could come out in no other way. Um, and I feel like with looking like back at Sweet Like Chocolate Boy now, I in the last draft I got to that place in the end. I did get to that place where I was like, okay, Tristan, you don't have to make everything super poetic just to prove that you could write. You know that you can write. You don't need to prove that you can write anymore. Do what's right for the story. Um, but when the poetry does come in, it's important for those moments, especially also when you're doing stuff like uh storytelling plays or one man monologue stuff like that, and you know that you're not going to have much of a set. That's when poetry comes in a lot because you're invoking the imagination in your audience. So that makes sense. You're going to talk about how dark the tree was. You're going to talk about how big the estate was, or how deep and dark and gloomy the castle was, or whatever you want to do, because they can't see it here, but need to see it inside in order for you to continue your story. As long as you actually continue your story. Um, yes. Alex has a question. What advice would you give people who have an idea for a show but aren't sure what to do next? Um, First of all, you need to write it down. You need to write your ideas down. Um, to not write your ideas, you are not allowing it to come into fruition. Writing your ideas down doesn't mean go and send it to someone. Doesn't mean create a script right now. Doesn't mean that, but it means making sure it is recorded in some way, shape, or form for yourself, so you know it can become a real thing, and then working towards that. Um, so that's one thing, writing your ideas down. Number two, putting it away. Put it away for a little while and then come back to it later, let it breathe, and then rethink about your idea and what and why you want to do it, and why you want to create it. I say create because it's not always writing. um Number three, I guess it's about making sure you've written it as best as you can in some way, and then coming in terms of like at least structure or whatever it is, and then inviting credible people that you trust, and people that you also know have the same fire that you do into the process, and inviting them, not forcing them. Don't force them. Don't force people. Uh, because you never want forced people on your work. Um, and I think the first people you should be considering inviting into your process is a mentor. If you can find a mentor, someone that you admire their work from beforehand and all of this, and you say, I've got an idea, I've written it down, it is mine. Also write it down so that people don't steal your ideas, so you can send it to yourself and people don't steal your idea. but it is mine, and I would like some ideas about what I should do next in terms of if it's writing it, or if it's directing it, or if it's producing it. Let your mentor give you their thoughts. What your mentor says to you, be very careful about who you choose to be your mentors. What your mentor says to you is give or take. You decide whether you take that on or not, but at least, at the very least, sleep on it before you make your next decision. Sleep has a powerful thing. It's a powerful, powerful thing. Uh, After that, then it's time to realize the idea again via a written form, or whatever, for you to visualize what it could be, whether it is painting, pictures, whatever it is. And then it's time to get other people on board into your process. Then it's time to consider, all right, who can produce this? Producers are really important, guys. I've almost wondered. I always kind of feel like producers are slightly more important than getting directors if you're writing a piece, because they're the ones that's supposed to find the money for everything. So you need to find a producer or someone that is willing to go the extra mile with you to produce this piece of work. Because if it's your first piece of work, it's very likely you're going to be co-producing. If you're trying to do it by yourself and you're not known, it's very likely you're going to be co-producing, or producing it yourself. In which case, I'd say learn as much about producing from other producers as possible, even if they're not going to be the people on your project. Learn from other producers as much as possible. um get a producer, talk it through. Make sure your producer is has the same fire you do. If they don't, let them go. They're not right for your thing. And you will feel it, guys. You'll feel when the producer is right for you. um and then go about possibly finding venues, affordable venues, teams, and all the while you're doing that, or your producer rather, or your producing partner's doing that, you're reworking on your piece. Um, if it is you're particularly writing it, you are reading around, you're watching theater, you're gathering connections, you're gathering people's names and emailing them, asking them for coffees, or whatever, just to give some thoughts on your script or thoughts on your idea alongside your mentor. Keep your mentor informed about what you're doing. um I think that's the first step, and then the things slowly start to follow on from there. Another question. Do you have some favorite collaborators you'd like to shout out to? Oh, all right. I'm gonna shout out my tribe in terms of people that have grown up with me. There's lots of people above me, like Michaela Cole, Rinze Kene, Roy Wise, Steph O'Driscoll, Toby Clark from Out, Thea Peckham, all these people, and I'm gonna shout all those people out, of course, and more. I'm sorry if I can't think of you at the top of my head, but people in my tribe, I would say people like Jasmine Lee Jones, people like Lynette Linton, um, people I'm gonna shout out Janice Sadik. I'm gonna shout out Emmanuel Nwosu, or also known as Emmanuel Sugo. I'm gonna shout out Nova Riche, the company. I'm gonna shout out who else? Initiative DKF, the company with DK Fashion, Wafi, Eyong. All these people around me, Mina Barber, Nadine Woodley. Um, there's so many people I can shout out that, yeah. But I think the other thing I'll say to you guys in doing these shout outs is to say, find out who's in your tribe. Your tribe means the people that are on the same wavelength as you. Your tribe means the people that are on the same they may not have the same ideas as you, but they do have the same fire you do, and the same questions about life that you do. And when you're with them, your soul kind of moves. I always think about things in terms of soul. Sorry, but your soul kind of moves. Um, and you have a want to do something together. Find out who your tribe is, because those are the people that, when it comes to these sort of questions about who you're going to shout out, those are the people you should shout out first, because they grew with you and they helped you, and you are to help them. That doesn't mean mollycoddle. It also means critique and grow together. Is there any questions? I have run over time, so I can take like maybe one or two questions real quick if anybody's got time to stay. But yeah, is there any questions? I'm gonna do a 10-second timer. That was more than 10 seconds, but hey. Thank you very much, guys. It was lovely talking on Kids Head Theatre today. Please keep on this web streamcast for whoever's next week. I'm sure it's going to be somebody fire. Thank you so much, Kids Head Theatre, for allowing me to talk about my play, Sweet Like Chocolate Boy. And yeah, any questions, you can find me at Tristan F. Aiduenu. I'll type it down here for those people on Instagram where you can find me. And for all of you on Facebook, follow me on Insta. But if you must add me on Facebook, you can find me at Tristan Fynn on Facebook. So and I'll see if I can post that somewhere. So yeah, thank you. Have a lovely day. Keep blessed during quarantine. Keep as sane as you can. And good luck.